Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing some Sneak and Show. Now the reason we're playing Sneak and Show is because Snoopy-magic managed to win a legacy challenge with this the other day. Now, since the BNR update 17 weeks ago, Sneak and Show has not won a single event until now in terms of like legacy online challenges and above. So I wanted to see if this particular list had kind of cracked the formula or if they got lucky, or just showcase why this deck isn't very good in the format right now. Either way, I think it should be an interesting one. So our deck is trying to do one of two things. We're either trying to show and tell in something expensive, either Emrakul, Griselbrand, Atraxa, or Omniscience, or sneak attack in Atraxa, Griselbrand, or Emrakul. So pretty big, explosive stuff. Very powerful things that we're trying to do, but we are very easily disrupted by hand disruption and counter magic because we're trying to cast like 4-drops and 3-drops. In order to make this all work, we've got ourselves some Brainstorms and Ponders to find it. We've got Stock Up to dig nicely. We've got Fast Mana in the form of Lotus Petals, Simian Spirit Guide, and some Soul Lands to try and power out our stuff. And then protect it via the Force of Will and Flusterstorm. Now, given the nature of the meta right now, there are two main deck Ghost Vacuum decks in this combo deck, which kind of tells you one of the problems that is in Legacy at the moment. And I'll just pull up some data that I've collected, which kind of visualizes that problem. So this is the cumulative top 8 placings of the top 10 decks in Legacy over the last 17 weeks. As you can see, there is one big standout here in Blue-Black Reanimator. And that is why there are two main deck Ghost Vacuums in this list. It's probably worth mentioning the Mistrise Village, which is kind of like a Cavern of Souls for spells, but it is quite mana intensive, but this is good in the slower matchups. Not that there's many slower matchups in Legacy right now. Sideboard-wise, what are we doing? Well, we've got ourselves some Consign, Fury, Brotherhood's End, Mages of the Moon, Abrade, Pyroblast. You know, a bunch of just good sideboard cards alongside some more graveyard-hating Grafdigger's Cage and generically useful Disruptor Flute. This one is a bit of a spicy one. Yggdrasil, Rebirth Engine, 3 mana. When it enters, exile all creature cards from your graveyard. You tap it, exile top 3 cards of your library, and then you can pay 4 and tap it. Put a creature card exile with Yggdrasil onto the battlefield under your turn. Under your control, it gains haste until end of turn. Activate only as a sorcery. So this is just like another combo piece. So if we're playing against a deck that's going to be highly disruptive, we can board these in and just have more routes to our plan. That, lovely people, is what we're playing today. Congratulations to Snoopy-magic for actually winning an event with this deck, which is the first like show and tell deck to have won an event in like 17 weeks, which is kind of wild. All right, like, subscribe, become a YouTube member, Patreon member, all that sort of stuff is good. But most importantly, enjoy. There's still time to take advantage of 3-for-1 Trading's early Black Friday sale. It runs until 12th of November and is the perfect way to level up your collection. With the code BF25, you can get 5% off and free worldwide shipping on orders over €300 or dollars. It's a perfect time to buy into pre-modern or add to your legacy collection. High-end singles, full sets, sealed products, and even gaming supplies are part of the promotion. Click on the link in the description of this video to find out more and place your order. Avatar: The Last Airbender, 3-for-1 Advent Calendar, 3-for-1 Chaos Draft, and event tickets are excluded from this promotion. Alright, our opener is struggling because it doesn't have blue mana, so we're going to have to mulligan this one. We have one land. We're very susceptible to Wasteland here, but we do have the combo and some protection. I think we just go for this. So we can pitch the Atraxa to the Show and Tell. Sorry, to the Force of Will. Okay, we're going to pin off the Show and Tell because we need to find a land. So we have the Force of Will that we can protect and put an Emrakul in. Now, our opponent might have something equally scary. This Wasteland is pretty scary though. Land. Not a land. Okay, we are in the trouble zone. Are we playing against Pox? I can't imagine Pox is going to be particularly great for us. We're getting Thought Seized. We are getting Thought Seized. They're going to take the Ponder. I think we just have to let this go through. We could Force of Will, pitch in the Atraxa. But I think we're better off trying to hit something like a Smallpox that's going to take multiple chunks out of us. Alright, we are mana screwed here. We're a 19 land deck, so it's not like we haven't got any in there to try and draw. Alright, another Thought Seize. This is bad news for us. They took our sneak attack. This is not the start I was really hoping for. A Misty Rainforest. Okay. Let's get stuck in with a basic island so we can't be wasted off of it. Let's start pondering. Force of Will, Brainstorm, Sneak Attack. I want the sneak attack, but we need lands. So I think we have to go any order and shuffle here. Mistrise Village. That is susceptible to a wasteland. And it will come in tapped as well. There is the wasteland we just mentioned. Now Spellbomb, that doesn't really impact us. It's probably just going to be a redraw for our opponent. It looks like their list is... Oh, could you stop our opponent? It looks like their list is quite close to the one that top 8'd the Eternal Weekend. It wouldn't be a surprise if they were running something similar. Like the main deck now, Spellbomb. Okay, they took the blue card, so we don't have Force of Will available anymore. It's all going horribly wrong for us. Do we get our opponent's wasteland out now? I don't think there's much need to do that. Let's play this Ghost Vacuum. We can start slurping some stuff up. If they now Spellbomb us, we can get rid of the Atraxa. And then at least it's underneath it. Targeting us, I'm going to exile this Atraxa. So if we get to 6 mana, we have an Atraxa. It's only a 1/1 Atraxa, but the enters the battlefield ability is going to be pretty good still. Now, our opponent is not a deck that is known for winning the game quickly. Pox tends to be a pretty slow, grindy deck. Now, they might be able to grind us into oblivion, but if we can just hit runner on lands a few times, we'll be okay. They chose Baron Moor, so they're on a slightly different list. I do enjoy seeing the cycling lands. As a Saga, that is a win condition. The time of Dirtling is gone. So we want to play this Mistrise Village. This way, if they wasteland this, they can't wasteland the Ancient Tomb, which is the thing we need to get us up to show and tell mana. We can still win this game. The thing we're doing is very powerful and game ending. Alright, they're wastelanding us. Orcish Bowmasters. Sure, we're not really trying to draw many cards right now. They can use this token to make a Saga construct. It's more the fact that this is just a creature that's going to pressure our life total. That concerns me. Alright, we're getting a Hogak here. Yep, that is a lot of pressure. Let's wasteland out. Do we play out this Ancient Tomb now and expose it to a wasteland? I don't think we do. I think we just have to try and draw show and tell next turn. So we're going to take 10, 11, 12, 13. So we get one more draw step and we have to find show and tell exactly. And then I think if we get an Atraxa in, that'll probably give us a route to the combo again. We're going to put in an Emrakul, maybe with sneak attack. But we are in some trouble. I'm going to take out this wasteland in response to them getting a Pithing Needle potentially. The Pithing Needle will be annoying, stopping our Ghost Vacuum potentially. But I don't think the game's going to go that long. But maybe we end up in like a weird sneak attack situation at some point. But I think this game is just very much over. Alright, so they did get a Pithing Needle. So we did play around it. Not that it's going to make any difference here. They're going to name sneak attack with this anyway. Or they could name a fetch land and just try and cut us off of mana. I think nothing really matters apart from the top card of our library in this situation. Scalding Tarn. They've gone for the mana denial strategy. Fair enough. Scalding Tarn isn't going to help us out of this spot though. It's show and tell or bust. We are pretty low on the old life totals here. Flusterstorm. That's not the one. Not a great start. So what do I think we want here? We probably want more ways of getting our combo up and running. If they're going to be really disruptive, we can have an Yggdrasil. I think I would like some Mages of the Moons. I think, let's move all these, too many different mana costs here. Let's move it all down. I don't hate having access to Abrades and like all this sort of stuff as well. Even the Disruptor Flute is kind of interesting. We have to decide what we don't want. Ghost Vacuum stops their life from lame shenanigans, but that's fine, but not really what this matchup is about. Flusterstorm. This is just instance or sorcery, so it can hit Smallpox. And it can protect our hand from Thoughtseize. So we probably have to keep those. So at present, we've got access to what? 2 Yggdrasil, which I think is the main one. Do we need these Force of Wills? Or are we just not trying to play that game? Maybe we're not trying to play that game. We just get some Mages of the Moons in there. We probably still want a couple of Force of Wills we can find off an Atraxa. Do we need access to anything like an Abrade? What do they have? Void Mirror is kind of annoying against our Omniscience. Abrade is like a good way of blowing up random bits and pieces as well. We want all the stuff that gives us mana. We need all our cantrips. I don't think we really get to sideboard more unless we're just going to take out these Force of Wills altogether. But as I mentioned, I don't really want to do that. Okay, we'll try it like this. Okay, we can go turn 1 Yggdrasil. And then hopefully that eventually works for us. They can't take this out of our hand. Now, Besage is a thing that can happen, but that isn't the end of the world. So we're potentially threatening to do something really busted on turn 2. If we can mill this in our opponent's end step and then untap into another like soul land, we can just play like a hasty Emrakul or Atraxa. Thoughtseize, you got it. Please shuffle one of these big monsters into our deck. That is actively what I want you to do. Maze of the Moon, that is a creature. A Brainstorm, you say. I'm going to go get Basic Island. So what we can do here is we can Brainstorm this Emrakul on top, and then we can grab it with the Yggdrasil. And then next turn we annihilate all of our opponent's permanents. So they really need to do something quite soon. Again, Thoughtseize again. Cast a Brainstorm. You can Orcish Bowmasters me if you like. I don't mind. What do we want here? Probably just put these two away. Oh, there's an Atraxa in there as well. Are we getting Besaged? We are getting Besaged. Yes. This gets us a Thundering Falls. Show and tell. That's half of the problem. We only have one Surveil land. Guess we just play out this fetch land for now, I think. We can go and get a basic if something weird happens and we need a basic. Cracking of Verdant Catacombs. It's kind of annoying that the Yggdrasil hit 2 guys when it was getting Besaged. Alright, we're just here drawing cards until our show and tell is good. We're going to leave these cards in hand for Brainstorm purposes, I think. We can turn them into 2 fresh ones. It's just a Bowmasters. Yep, that makes our Brainstorm line worse when we eventually find one. But it's probably still worth doing. Thoughtseize. We could make them pay more for this, but that's not actually going to stop them from being able to just pay and take it. I think we just have to let it go. We lose the show and tell, and then we're pretty far away from where we need to be here. The fragility of our deck compared to something like a Blue-Black Reanimator deck where it's just got like 1 mana pieces that just get to pop off. Oh, we would have had it as well. That's annoying. Alright, we'll just carry on. I think I want to play out a land here. Although the Brainstorms are bad, so maybe we do play out land. We need stock-ups, really. Grist the Hunger Tide. We can't hit that with a Flusterstorm. This also can blow up an Emrakul. Now, it doesn't stop a sneak attack Emrakul, which is what we're trying to play for right now. There's a sneak attack off the top, and then we're golden. Are we cracking this to thin our deck by 1 card? I don't think we are. Because we have Brainstorms and cantrips and things. Mistrise Village. Sure, I think I'll play that one out. We just want it to be really hard for our opponent to take us off of sneak attack activate. And we don't really want to use the Ancient Tomb because the life loss could be a bit much. They milled over a Barragoyf, so I'm glad that's not attacking us at least. Orcish Bowmasters. Yep, so it's going to force through an extra little point of damage on the army. So from our opponent's position, it might be like really scary. It might look like we're about to just get them. But obviously, you know, that could happen. Omniscience. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So if we play this and draw a soul land, we get to Omniscience. How dead are we at the moment? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this doesn't work after this turn. So we don't get to Omniscience. Okay. But we could show and tell in the Omniscience next turn. I think we're very dead here. How many creatures have they got in their graveyard, actually? 1, 2. So they have the additional 2 damage. They can just finish us off with the Grist minus. You don't see it very often. Maybe they miss it. I suspect they won't. Yep, and that's us dead. Okay. The deck that denies all the resources and messes with your hand messed with our hand a lot. Not much to say about that one, unfortunately. Let's go to round number 2. Okay, we have the thing that our deck wants to do. And we get to do it on turn 2. And we get to start off with a basic island. Now, there are a lot of situations where the thing we're doing isn't good enough. Which is part of the problem with sneaky show decks these days. A Thoughtseize can do some real damage to us. I think being like the Force of Will combo deck in the meta of Thoughtseize combo decks doesn't feel ideal. See if we can find any sort of protection there off this Ponder. No, is the answer to that one. We'll just shuffle this. Alright. So we didn't need another monster because we're Thoughtseize proof in terms of the monster front. They're just going to take the turn 10 anyway if they have a Thoughtseize. But maybe they won't have it and we're okay. Pinnacle Emissary. How many little guys are you going to drop out? Right, it's 2 baubles. We've made 2 tokens and a Lotus Petal. Hopefully they don't have a forcible blue card over there. Alright, they're playing Kappa Cannoneer. Okay, that's obviously very good. But they're not able to forcible blue card what we're doing here. I think I'm going to play out the City of Traitors and just save our life points because they could be relevant later on. So we have a choice here. Are we putting in Emrakul, which can deal with our opponent's permanents, or are we just getting the card advantage from this, which we can then leverage possibly into an Emrakul next turn? I think I want the Atraxa. It attacks and blocks because it has Vigilance and it's got lifelink. Alright, so they're going to grow their Kappa, but this means they're not going to be able to give it unblockable unless they get something else. Okay, we have a creature. Oh, why has that gone so small? We have an enchantment. We have an artifact. We have an instant. We have a sorcery. We have a land. That's pretty good. We can play out this Lotus Petal, so we have fewer cards to discard. I can just discard. Does it even matter at this point? We are very far ahead, and we've done the thing. So I think we just get rid of one of these volcanics. Our opponent's not going to mess with our mana base very much. So we can just play the sneak attack, put Emrakul in. Our opponent's going to lose everything. We've got a Flusterstorm to back it up as well. I think they're in trouble. Turn 1 Kappa Cannoneer wasn't good enough, which, you know, it's nice. For us, at least. So they can play an artifact and jab us for 7. But they're going to lose most of their permanents and also their entire life total. Alright, so they've got this Pinnacle Emissary in. They've only got 1 card in hand, so unless it's like Thought Monitor type card. Alright, it's just a Mox Opal, so we should have this game won. I guess they can keep some drones around to block, but then they're not going to have much else going on. 9 is not the smallest chunk of damage I've ever taken in my life, though. So I assume we're getting bashed for 9. They don't want to attack with anything else because we just gain life off the Atraxa. Let's draw, what, 1 card here? Could be Metallic Rebuke, but we can Flusterstorm that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, play Sneak Attack, activate Sneak Attack. Right, and then we get to send in for a lot of damages. So we did it this way so we didn't have to pay any life to the Ancient Tomb because things could get a little bit messed up depending on what they keep here. They have to keep back at least 1 drone. But their deck does have like lots of cheap stuff, so they might be able to play some stuff out and put some more power on this Kappa Cannoneer, but is it going to be able to outrace the 7 lifelink we're getting here? So they block the Emrakul, take 7. Why are you blocking the Atraxa there? That's very strange to me. They could have saved themselves. So if they block this, then the Atraxa doesn't kill them on the next swing. Very peculiar. It might not matter. We might just be able to do our thing. Emery is probably too slow here because we can Atraxa looking for another Emrakul as well to make sure we blow up all their permanents, but they're also dead on board to the Atraxa anyway. Okay, some sort of artifacty deck. I would like to have access to Brotherhood's End, please. Let's move all these big payoffs into one place, please. Where did that go? Brotherhood's End, there it is. Okay, so we want one of these. I think the Abrades look pretty nice here. The Pyroblast's pretty solid. Do I like the Consign to Memories? I'm not, like, super in love with them. They're fine. It's very hard to be reactive given the nature of our deck. Ghost Vacuum is good against just Emery, but I think we can board in the blowing up stuff, which is better. We're not trying to play a grindy game at the end of the day. So I like this sort of stuff, but that's 5 cards over at the moment. If they're not messing with our mana, we could probably afford to cut a land. That's a little bit sketchy, though. So let's just see what we have at the moment. So we have one of these and probably an Abrade. Do we just take out some forces because we're going to have Pyroblasts? But that makes our whole combo cost a lot more and doesn't give us the turn 0 interaction that I quite like. Do you want a Fury as well? Maybe just get rid of some of their bits and pieces. We could just try and just have no Force of Wills and just send it with like Pyroblast type stuff. Doesn't strike me as the best use of our resources. Maybe we trim on a Ponder because our opponent might have Chalice. And then do we want these cards? And how would we fit them in? I don't know if we can fit them in. Unless we're trimming on the forces. And just trying to overload them. Just have another Abrade. We've still got 3 forces. I kind of want these Pyroblasts though. But do we take out forces for Pyroblasts? That makes us spend more mana to do what we're doing. We'll see how this goes. I'm sure all you Sneak and Show aficionados have some thoughts about how I sideboarded here. So we have a sneak attack, but we don't really have the stuff to go with it. We're basically just going to be Surveil Landing, have this Force of Will that does nothing. Doesn't seem like we're keeping this one to me. Okay, this one looks a lot better. Stock Up is quite the Magic the Gathering card. So do we need a... I guess we could put back this Thundering Falls. Because we've got Ponder into Stock Up. This can give us a little burst of mana to get something on the stack if we need to. Stock Up digs deep to find more land. You're already covered for the first 2 turns. Right, just an Urza's Bauble, this time with no Pinnacle Emissary, so it's not going to be that scary. Alright, just an Emry. This is going to be like a Howling Mine effect where they get to crack the Urza's Bauble and rebuy every turn, which is obviously very powerful. Let's go for a Ponder here. Brainstorm, I don't mind. Is this really what we're looking for though? We've already got the mana. Brainstorm would have to go through those cards anyway, unless we shuffled and then had the Brainstorm next turn, but then we're still going to draw these lands. I think we just any order and shuffle. Another Emrakul. What about second Emrakul? So we're going to start stocking up next turn. And that's a really interesting one, because do you counter the stock up? Because stock up's really good. But if you don't, then we're going to get the card advantage we need. Alright, so they're getting a Mox Opal back rather than a card draw. So this says Kappa Cannoneer coming soon. Memory Guardian, yep. Last week this sort of 8-casty style deck had a pretty good week. It's not been putting up numbers for a while, but it had a nice little spike last week. Okay, come on deck. The Ancient Tomb is a little bit scary. Let's stock up. Do you counter this or do you wait? Okay, so I would like to have access to Show and Tell. I think Abrade is looking pretty good here as well. Or I could take the Force of Will and try and ram through our Emrakul. Now they're probably going to have the either Spellbomb coming out of this soon. We could just get Griselbrand because that can just be a bunch more cards, which should be enough to let us send it again. Do I think our life total is going to be under that much pressure? Slightly tough call, this one. We might not even be able to pay the life for Griselbrand anyway. So I think it's the Abrade or the Force. I'll take the Abrade because we don't have a blue card just yet. I'm not going to play out these Lotus Petals. Or what we could do, because that allows us to play an Abrade. But that's quite a lot of resources to spend on an Abrade when we're probably trying to Abrade the thing that can deal with our Emrakul. We could wait a turn until they get the Spellbomb. Yeah, we're kind of in trouble because of this Spellbomb means we can't just Show and Tell this in, but we could just draw an Omniscience. That would be lovely. And then we can just win the game by casting an Emrakul. Right, they're going back to Howling Mine mode with the Emry. They know we have an Emrakul in hand from the previous bauble. We take 3. That's not too bad. So we're just going to Show and Tell in an Emrakul that immediately gets bounced. I don't think we're about that life. Okay. I think we have to try and go for something a little bit more powerful than just playing an Emrakul that immediately gets bounced. So here comes a Construct. I think we're going to turn this into a Volcanic Island. It's interesting they still have the Tormod's Crypt in their deck. Do you have an Aether Spellbomb? Or are they going for like Lava Spare Boots? So the main thing that we want to blow up on the board is either the Emry or a Construct token. Given our life total, it's probably the Construct token. Maybe we need to be more on the control route, and then we should be the ones boarding out our forces. Pithing Needle. This is going to name Sneak Attack, which is one of the things I would like to draw, but we can beat that because we got triple Lotus Petal in hand. Disruptor Flute. Is this also going to name Sneak Attack? That is a bit of a problem if that's the case. Show and Tell. I see. Well, we can blow up whichever one is necessary when the time comes. This is 7, 8, 9, 10. Like, we can just blow up this guy and buy ourselves some more time. But then how are we ever winning the game? Now, if we blow this up, then what? Then we can cast a Show and Tell. I guess it just costs 3 more. Alright, we'll destroy this guy. So Show and Tell costs us 6. Force of Will. Okay. No cards left in their hand. Okay, they're getting back a bauble. So what is our play here? I think we just have to send the show and tell and put the Emrakul in. But can we do that while still... We need to draw a land to be able to do it through the Disruptor Flute because it makes it cost 3 more. And the Ancient Tomb is not really a thing we get to tap anymore. Show and tell. So we can show and tell in an Emrakul. And then what happens? We block here, we take 4 and die. I think we have a route out of this game, so I probably just turn the guy sideways. Alright, maybe I've got this wrong and we're supposed to take out our forces and bang in like these pyroblasts. Possibly a consign? Just have like more disruptive elements of what they're doing. Let's try that. It's kind of hard for us to, you know, have blue cards for our force of will sometimes when we're like, one of our main blue cards is the show and tell, and then we've also got the stock up. The only thing that we're really happy to pitch is cantrips, but they can find our combo. Maybe we just don't need to do that. Okay, this hand looks nice to me. Because they're not going to mess with our mana, we're just going to play out this Volcanic Island. Fire in with a Ponder. Right, a bunch of Ancient Tombs. I definitely want one Ancient Tomb, not so sure about the second one though. So we can turn to Atraxa here. And that will probably get met with a counterspell. But we can just keep sending stuff. If they're spending 2 cards on our 1 card, that's okay. Alright, they've got the Pinnacle Emissary turn. Is it Kappa Cannoneer on turn 1 good? Or is it just a bunch of little guys? And Emery. Is this the end of their chain? They just get 1 guy out of it? Just 1 guy. That is fine by me. Let's show and tell. Force or bust opponent. Right, I'll have an Atraxa, please. Pithing Needle. So they're going to name Sneak Attack here. But we have an Atraxa. What do we get here? Fury is certainly cool. I'll take one of those. I will take a stock up. I'll take a land. Take a Brainstorm. So done. And then I will evoke this Fury. And take out their Emery so that we don't have to worry about them getting stuff back. Alright. Feels like we've done a good amount of stuff there. They've milled over 2 forces with their Emery, which is quite funny. I do believe they have an Aether Spellbomb in their deck. But they need to find it. And it might take them a while. Otawara, that's also an answer for this. Disruptor Flute. You got it. They're going to name Stock Up. Or they're going to name Show and Tell. Just Show and Tell, sure. But that doesn't really answer the massive problem that's in front of them right now. I land out and Stock Up here. Consign to memory, I'll take one of those. Show and Tell is fine. I guess we can... Do you want that or do you want to Ponder? We've already got the Brainstorm. I just take the Show and Tell here. So we can fire off a Consign for a decent chunk of the things in our opponent's deck. Lotus Petal is not one I care about. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they still can't cast Kappa Cannoneer. Thoughtcast, sure. I can dig away. But it all sort of comes to nothing there by the looks of things. Alright, I would like to Brainstorm here because we've got some cards I wouldn't mind putting back. And some more of them too. Put back a land and another land. This one out, we'll crack it. Volcanic Island out. So we have lethal. Next turn, we're just going to sit here and hold up Abrade plus Consign to memory with however many replicates it may require. Lotus Petal. I don't think that's the difference between our opponent having the thing they need and not here. I guess this could be an Otawara. Sink into Stupor. I will Pyroblast your Sink into Stupor. Yeah, this feels much better without the Force of Wills in this matchup, I think. Alright, we have a Force of Will. So they're pitching their last cards just to bounce our little guy. You got it. So then, we can play a land out. We can Abrade, destroy target artifact on this one. And look who's come back to tea. It's your friend and mine, Atraxa. They have no cards in hand. We're about to draw 4 or 5 maybe. Alright, that felt much better. Okay. I think it's Black Hand Disruption is kind of spooky for us. Because we're a little bit slower and they can come in underneath us and get stuff, whereas sometimes we can push through counters. Okay. On to round 3. Sure, I think this is fine. We can use the Mistrise Village to push through if we need to. But generally speaking, we're just going to be pondering our way towards something that goes with this Atraxa. Is this going to be a Chalice of the Void? It is a Chalice of the Void. I guess we just have this Force of Will that can pitch the Ponder. Our deck's pretty good against Chalice, generally speaking, because we have like stock ups and things, and our kill conditions are like 3 mana spells. So I guess we want to go and get a Surveil land here. We don't really care about Blood Moon because we have one of each basic in hand already. Ivugin, so we're on that Eldrazi life over there. I'm much more worried about like a big threat here. That certainly counts. Let's deal with this. They got Fleshraker to follow up as well. I think they would have played the Fleshraker first, just so they could get some more manas anyway. Right, let's get Surveil landing. So Thundering Falls. Brainstorm going in the graveyard because of the Chalice of the Void. So we can use the Mistrise Village to push through a Chalice of the Void as well. But that means we're paying 3 mana for our Brainstorms, and I think I'd rather just not have to worry about that. I think we just play out a basic here. We aren't really going anywhere right now, but we got some reasonable draws that we can work towards. We have to worry about Wastegate Battle Mage and Thought-Knot Seer. So if we draw like a sneak attack and we can play it without activating it straight away, we have the decision of what we want to do with it. So they're going to wasteland us most likely, but do they have a follow-up? No. Okay, that's fine. Land is not the problem for us right now. An Ancient Tomb. Right, I'm just going to play out this mountain so we can play a sneak attack out. I think I would play a sneak attack out. If they had a Thought-Knot Seer, they would have cast it, but they could have something like a Wastegate Battle Mage. Actually, no, that's the other way around, isn't it? We don't play it out because they could have a Wastegate Battle Mage, because they would have cast a Thought-Knot Seer if they had one. Although, Kozilek's Command, finding some new cards can just change things up anyway. They're also at 14, so if we ever attack them with an Emrakul, it will be lethal. They put one on the top, one on the bottom. So now they have the Thought-Knot Seer, so we're going to lose the Atraxa. We're not great at removing Thought-Knot Seers either. Ponder that we can't cast just yet. If we play out this island, so this will enter untapped next turn. If we play out the island this turn, we can play out the Ponder next turn. And if our opponent doesn't have that much aggro, that's okay. If we're taking just 4, and maybe, let's say, they don't play another creature, then that would feel good. Another Ancient Tomb. Kill themselves in 2 turns. We could be seeing something like a Devourer, just as a big 6/6. We could also see an activation of the Eye of Ugin. A lot of life, but it might be worth it. A Lotus Petal. Let's play this one out. Let's... Oh, nope, wrong one. We want to make this... Our next spell we cast this turn can't be countered. And then we cast a Ponder. Nice Chalice of the Void. We need 2 specific hits here. We need the Show and Tell, but we don't have a way of shuffling, so this just doesn't work. So we have to any order this one. And shuffle. Force of Will, not the best. So they can... Okay, they didn't tutor for a guy. They spent 6 mana, 7 mana, they could have tutored. And then got something like a Reality Smash or something, or like another Thought-Knot Seer. Okay, that's part of the problem kind of solved, I guess. So we just need to draw Show and Tell or Sneak Attack. Okay, now they're going for the activation. So what do they get here? Is it just another Thought-Knot Seer? I don't think we care about that. We can... Sire of 7 Deaths. Okay. That's a good thing that you can put in if we Show and Tell, I suppose. Can I just cast this though? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. So I'm going to 4 here. And I'm going to Force of Will this. I'm going to use this Lotus Petal. No, because if we sneak attack, we need the Lotus Petal for red mana. Not a lover of having to pay 2 life here, because that means our opponent has exactly the clock they need of 2 turns. But if we draw Show and Tell or Sneak Attack, then I think we're okay. Show and Tell. Opponent's got 2 cards in hand. Oh, the old Eldrazi Line Breaker, eh? Now 10 damage coming in and we're currently at 11. Another Line Breaker. Okay, they only lose this game if they make a mistake. Yep, so this is exactly lethal. Oh, were they not attacking with the Thought-Knot Seer? They worked it out. So we block here. We gain 7, we lose 7 from this, then we lose 4 from the Thorn, and we die. Oh, it was close. Alright, Eldrazi stuff. I would like some Consign to Memories, please. Get those right in my heart. Mages of the Moon also looks pretty good here. Stuff that removes their things. I like all of these things. I don't particularly like Force of Wills here. We don't need the Ghost Vacuums. I'm just looking for 2 more cuts to fit these things in. It might just be like... Oh, it's the Flusterstorms, isn't it? It's always Flusterstorms. There you go. That is 8 cards that we've managed to fit in nicely. Do I want some Yggdrasil? Just as like another way of getting our guys in. I don't think that's what we're about. Let me just submit like this, and that's fine. This is not a keep for me. No. So like that first one, we could have gone all in, but we still needed a land, and I don't think that's a good place to be. Alright, we're going to 5 here. It's the best one so far, I guess. About the Atraxa or the Sneak Attack? I think it's the Atraxa. Could just be the Consign. The Consign's the thing that we're relying on to get up to doing more things. Alright, I think we're going to put this back and hope that the Maze of the Moon does the job it needs to do. I think we need to get a Surveil land, even though it can be a bit dicey for us. I think when we mull to 5, and we need so many parts to make our deck work. Simian Spirit Guide, I guess. Disruptor Flute. Okay, this isn't actually what this game is about right now. Were they named Sneak Attack or they named Show and Tell? Probably Show and Tell, because there's a risk that we go off this turn and they don't beat that a lot of the time. Alright, Mages of the Moon, it's your time to shine. We're going to cut ourselves off of blue mana to do this. But hopefully this is the haymaker that stops our opponent from being able to play the game. And then when it's a non-game for a few turns, we eventually draw into the stuff to make the Sneak Attack work. Vugan, that is a mountain. City of Traitors. We're getting towards having the Sneak Attack in play. Eldrazi Obligator. Okay. This is just a 3-1. They don't have the mana to pay for the stealing. It's just a creature they can cast underneath the Blood Moon. And now we are losing the race. And now we are not losing the race. But we don't need to fire this off just yet. We might be able to get more cards for it. Also, I would quite like to actually cast a Sneak Attack at some point. Another Eldrazi Obligator. Sure. This Fury's looking mighty tempting. Take 6 a turn. I guess we'll see what we draw. Ideally, like another red card we're happy to throw into the Fury. Consign to Memory, that's not the one, is it? I'm going to attack for 2 here. I think we just have to bin off both of these. So 2 for 2 trade. I can't have another Obligator, surely. Alright, goodbye to their little friends. We're just slowly pecking away with this Mages of the Moon. If they can actually deploy a creature. Oh, they've drew wastes. Game over. It was the one thing we didn't want to happen. Line Breaker. So this is 4 damage and almost certainly kills us next turn. Yikes. Volcanic Island, not the best. Sure, a Flesh Raker, why not? Another Line Breaker over there. And they can't have another Line Breaker, right? So we have to block this turn. Well, we don't if they're attacking with just this, though. What are we doing here? I guess we can draw like a sweeper effect. Is it worth saving 2 life? Probably is worth saving 2 life here. I would try and draw stuff like Brotherhood's End, which would sweep out our guy anyway. We can counter whatever this is. Kozilek's Command. Cast with Replicate. So we'll counter the Fleshraker trigger and we'll counter the K command. Alright. Brotherhood's End is a card in our deck that would play here. And then we just did. Alright. We are getting smashed up a little bit today. This is why I was so surprised that Sneak and Show managed to win an event. Alright. We're on to round 4 now. Let's see if we can rally in the back half of the league. Okay. We have some pieces here. I guess we keep this. Mana and an Atraxa, that seems good. So we're probably looking at hiding the Atraxa on top. Just drawing some lands up, I guess. Humidian Hatchery. Are we ever going to be able to cast a 4-mana spell? They're going to Force of Will us, are they? Sorry, they're going to Thoughtseize us. Are we going to Force of Will this to salvage our plan? I think so. I don't want to play this out into the Boseiju, but we're leaving it in hand, so maybe it gets hit by Thoughtseize. The worst of all worlds. But we can sneak attack and an Atraxa next turn if our opponent doesn't mess with our hand. So no Thoughtseize, please. Oh, they always have 2. Every time. Okay. It's annoying we lost the Eldrazi matchup, to be honest. That was always a traditionally good matchup for this show and tell deck. Okay, so on top of our library is another land. I think we just go and get our Thundering Falls here. Can we find a little creature? I think a Ponder is better than an average draw here. Come on, Ponder. Hook me up. We've got an Emrakul and we've got a mountain. I will hide the Emrakul on top. Put the mountain into hand. Play out the mountain. Next turn we can annihilate all of our opponent's permanents. And I hear that's a pretty good thing to be doing. There's a Saga. Sure. Hopefully this turn our opponent's just chilling and doing Urza Saga things. Okay, they're not even doing Urza Saga things. Alright. I think we actually get to do the thing. Really surprised they didn't take our sneak attack earlier. So they lose all of their permanents. They get a couple of little insects. It's okay. Alright, they're just scooping it up. They've had enough. Alright. I don't know why they didn't take a sneak attack, to be honest. So I think we want the Yggdrasil for the same reasons we did before. I don't think we can afford to be a Force of Will deck, but we also can't afford to not be a Force of Will deck. Right, let's try it without the Force of Wills and just have some Makes of the Moons, get some Abrades for their annoying things that get in our way. So we've already gone over what we need here. Maybe we can just do without these Ghost Vacuums. We're not really about that life. Don't want a Brotherhood's End. This sweeps away all of their little guys. Maybe that's better than an Abrade. Let's try that. So we can just take out all of their construct tokens with 1 card then. Alright, we've got turn 1 Yggdrasil. Sounds like a reasonable plan. We're going to get Thoughtseize, so it's not going to be in our hand anymore. Oh! Exploration. Okay, so our opponent's on a slightly different sort of build. They're not necessarily full-on Pox. Might just be black-green lands. Okay, that makes our Yggdrasil very bad. Cool. Okay, an Omniscience. I guess we're just sat on this Flusterstorm. I'm very reluctant to get a red source here. A Ghost Quarter. I guess it doesn't matter which source we get, does it? We'll take 1 here, and I guess we'll just go and get a Surveil land. They're going to hit us for anyway. We may as well just suck it up and take it. It's a payoff. It's not really a great payoff, but if we play this out, play the Lotus Petal out, and then we can Yggdrasil. Our opponent is almost certainly going to blow this up with the Haywire Might, but if they do that, then it's going to mess with the amount of construct they might be able to make. I don't think they're going to do it right now. I think they're going to make their construct, untap, make their construct, and then have a green source and blow it up. Construct number 1. So we have the ability to sneak attack something in next turn. Alright, they're Ghost Courting their own Urza Saga to get themselves a swamp. We're in Thoughtseize again, are we? Pithing Needle. Is that going to name Yggdrasil? You can name Yggdrasil if it wants. They did name Yggdrasil. Okay. Life of Malome. Sure. They have a Ghost Quarter lock that they can assemble if they wish. I don't know if that's what they're about here, but we'll find out, I guess. And a Thoughtseize. Could you calm down? Okay, we're going to say no to this Thoughtseize. Storm count is high enough they can't pay here. Now we're going to take 4. Which is more than I would like to take, but here we are. An Emrakul. They have an onboard way of answering our thing. So I think we are just brainstorming, trying to come up with some more manners. They're Ghost Quartering themselves. Are they going to play a Bowmasters here? They are going to play a Bowmasters. Sure. Well, this looks real bad for us, doesn't it? So we don't need this one. And we might be able to do something with the red here. if we get access to a red mana? I guess we just put the sneak attack on top. We're going to have to probably draw this anyway, aren't we? Unless they Ghost Quarter us. Okay. How much damage is 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we're just dead on board. Alright. Fun times for us. I like how we sideboarded though. I don't think I want the forces in this matchup like this. I could even argue about having these in. But where do we fit these in is the question. Maybe we don't want Yggdrasil. Let's try without the Yggdrasil. I thought this would be the sort of matchup where it looked good. But they just have so many answers. Yes, stock-ups. Love having stock-ups. I think we lead off on an Ancient Tomb, because that's the one where if they wasteland it, we've got a redundant one. It doesn't mean we don't get to Brainstorm to protect against the Thoughtseize. But if they just snap off a wasteland here and pass it over, then we can just replay the same turn again. Unless we draw like a basic island or something. A Mox Diamond. Pitching a swamp. There's the wasteland. That was to be expected. It is annoying that they get to do other stuff on top of this. Hatchery. Okay. I think we are just playing out the Ancient Tomb again. They're just putting a counter on their hatchery. They're not casting anything. Do they have access to Life from the Loam? Do we beat that if they do? Underground Mortuary. Smallpox, you say? I guess we are getting rid of Abrade. Okay, so the Brotherhood's End can sweep these up in a bit if that's the thing we end up doing. Alright, we have a basic island. That's a huge deal. So they are a smallpox list, but they've got stuff like exploration in there. So they're going to be more all in on the ley line, the Life from the Loam plan, which I think is actually a really good way to be. I think we just want to... Yeah, I think we just untap and then Brainstorm with a fetch land available. Does that change anything right now? I don't think it does. Our opponent could have a Bowmaster in, so I don't need to Brainstorm right now. It means we're missing out on potential ponder value. But I don't want to get attacked by a big guy. That's a Saga, 1 card left in our opponent's hand. In come the little guys. Let's cast a Brainstorm. We can at least clean up the Bowmaster if that's what's happening here. I guess we don't want the Mistrise Village that much. I'll put back this Brainstorm, I think. Let's go and get Thundering Falls. A Griselbrand. Okay, I like Griselbrand. Let's stock up. There is a chance we get to do it this turn. If we get Show and Tell and a Mana Source. Okay, we didn't get Show and Tell and a Mana Source. So we get 2 of these. So we can get Show and Tell times 2. And we can't be discarded off of it. Okay. And we can just Show and Tell Griselbrand and then Show and Tell something else the following turn. A Beseiju. I don't think that matters too much. Thoughtseize. They take the Griselbrand. And then we stock up and Show and Tell. And we're in a similar spot to before. Take 2. Sneak attack. It's not quite the one we wanted. 2 blue. So we can Show and Tell in an Atraxa right now. That sounds very good. Yeah, stock up is the thing that makes this deck playable, to be honest. And I still don't think this deck's particularly good, but stock up is so good at finding the pieces we require. They've got no cards in hands. This is a one-sided Show and Tell. Alright, big lifelink threat is where I want to be. What do we want from here? Kind of an odd selection, really. We can Show and Tell in Atraxa. So the creature we're getting is probably going to be the... We can get Megs of the Moon, but I think we just get an Atraxa. And then we take the 1 artifact here, the 1 enchantment, the 1 sorcery, and then what land do we want? Mountain, probably? If we're trying to do sneak attack things. We can play this out so we don't have to go to discard. The next turn we can Show and Tell in Omniscience, and then we can just cast Atraxa, draw some more cards, see if we can find that Emrakul and win the game. So they can get a Pithing Needle here, but we have a Brotherhood's End, which we can cast after we've cast our Omniscience. That only stops the sneak attack, so it's going to be tough for our opponent to wriggle out this one. Lava Spell Boot's probably not the one. Are you attacking into my lifelink guy? Nope, they're scooping the game. All right, we got a match there. So we've managed to split games against Pox, which is nice. Like, if we manage to do our thing, then, you know, it's quite powerful. But they're very good at stopping us. The general Pox life is, if your opponent gets to, like, their 4 mana and a few cards in hand, they're going to win the game. And we managed to do that this time around. All right, so that's 4 rounds down, and we are 2-2. So the positive record is on the line. Okay. We're not going to die to the graveyard, and we have the show and tell. The question is, are we trying to maximize the value of this Brainstorm? Or are we trying to make sure that we keep our mana? I think we're trying to make sure we keep our mana, which means we're going to fetch a basic island off of this Scalding Tarn, so we can't get jammed up by a bunch of things. And then we're just going to deploy this. I think it's the Ghost Vacuum. There's an argument for holding up the Brainstorm so that we don't get clipped by some sort of discard. But there's a lot of decks that can use the graveyard super early doors and mess us up. Thundering Falls. What are you going to mill over there? This is the mirror. Casting Show and Tell is... Okay, it's not the mirror, it's Delver. Phew. Alright, we're getting baubled. So we get to keep the Delver stuff in check now. We don't have to worry about Murktide or DRC this game, which is a relief. Scalding Tarn. I'm going to cast... I'm going to play this land first, actually, just in case there's some shenanigans in our future. So we don't have to worry about Thoughtseize in this matchup, most likely. We don't need multiple Emrakuls, do we? We can put one of these back. And the Lotus Petal is actually pretty interesting to help play around Days. I'll just put this land on top, I think. So we can show and tell around a Days. If that doesn't work, we can start stocking up. Just to ponder, so not any immediate pressure. This is good news. And Mishra's Bauble. So I want this land on top of my library. I don't think I do. Let's get Thundering Falls in. Atraxa. Do I want the Atraxa? We could mill it over and then start Ghost Vacuuming. That's certainly a line that we have available to us. I think I'd rather put this Atraxa in than the Emrakul though, so I will leave this on top. Let's get rid of this Ponder. Let's play our land. Play our Lotus Petal. We're going to get Volcanic Island and force our opponent to have something or lose the game. They have to have something more than a Daze. If they force to will us, then we have stock up so we can just reload and keep going. This could be a Brainstorm digging for action. Alright, so doing it this way so they can play around a Daze without any weird timings. So the show and tell failed, but it was a 2-for-1, and then we can get a nice 2-for-1 in this stock up. Lightning Bolt to the Dome. That's probably the best use of Lightning Bolt in this matchup. You go ahead and Brainstorm their opponent. Right, so I'm going to crack in response, and then we're going to take out one of their cards here. This is just going to make their potential Murktide slightly smaller if that's what they're doing here. Just to preordain. No Murktide. Another show and tell, you say? Sure, I'll play this one. Another little 2-for-1. Yeah, our opponent's only sorcery in there. We've got Days out of our opponent's hand that we've been playing around as well. Eventually we'll string together stuff. If we're under pressure, then it becomes a bit weirder, but alright, we're getting what, 6/6 here? And a Wasteland. Press one out. Let's cast. Stock up. Not ideal. I will take a land and a Ponder here, I think. Play the land, cast this Ponder. Show and tell Omniscience. Sure. Alright, we have a plan. It's a pretty good plan. Does our opponent have Forcible Blue card as the last thing they have? Or Wasteland Days? Let's cast a show and tell. If they got it, you know, they got it. A Force of Negation. That's a real doozy. And then the card underneath that is a land. So we're just dead. Okay. Yep, sometimes your opponent has 3 forces and you lose. That's unfortunate for us. We get some tools here. So, Pyroblasts, these seem fine. Abrade is kind of whatever. I don't mind the Fury, gets to blow some stuff up, same Brotherhood's End. We could have these in as well, if we want them. The Ghost Vacuum isn't really for this matchup. It has some utility, but as you saw there, it didn't really make much of a difference. I don't think we want the Disruptor Flutes. I guess we could board out all of our forces and board in these. And then rely on Flusterstorm, Pyroblast, and Disruptor Flute to get through their stuff, but this is going to have to name Wasteland a fair amount of time though. It's really hard to cycle with a deck where it feels like basically all of this stuff is pretty much mandatory. Maybe we just don't get to play all of these things. Maybe we can't play Fury alongside the forces. Maybe Brotherhood's End just has to go because it's not always going to kill stuff. And it's still 2 more cards we're looking to cut. Is this an Omniscience game? They have Brazen Borrower, so being able to bounce like one of our guys is huge. So I think the Omniscience plan is relevant. Maybe we just don't get to play Abrades. Alright, I think this is what we're working with. It's ridiculous how many hoops and stuff we're jumping through to get an Atraxa into play when there's a deck that just runs 10 slots to do it. What a world. Okay, I think we can keep this. We can start off with a Ponder. I think I will Ponder off of a basic. It does mean that our Brainstorm is potentially going to be less useful later on. But we need to try and keep the land underneath us. Another Ponder is good. I don't like the other things that much. We don't have a fetch land in this pile. I don't think we're keeping this just for a Ponder. Any order and shuffle. Alright, another land is fine. We just want to keep making land drops. This makes our Brainstorm better as well. Good old-fashioned Delver of Secrets. A Pyroblast. Let's cast a Brainstorm, see if we can fix up this hand at all. Okay, we have a plan, right? I don't think this Force of Will is going to be part of the plan necessarily. So next turn we go Ancient Tomb, this, cast the Sneak Attack. And then we have Simian Spirit Guide to Pyroblast to back it up. If we keep the Force of Will, maybe we get to do... Yes, if we keep the Force of Will, maybe we draw a blue card and we have 2 layers of protection. If we get Wastelander, we just draw the land. We don't have to crack this now. Daze. Daze is annoying. We could just draw the next land, and that covers the Daze. If they're not really applying more pressure than a Delver, I think we've got time. But the land we're going to play is very Wastelandable. Oh. Okay, there's the Wasteland. Alright, we're just going to feed this to the Wasteland. Sad as that makes me. We don't want them to play another Wasteland. Alright, goodbye, land. And they played another Wasteland. Can I remember what's on top of my library? It's another Sneak Attack. I guess that's one way we can play this. I'm pretty sure it's a Sneak Attack, isn't it? No, it's another land. Okay, I must have lost track of a Sneak Attack somewhere. So we can... If we had a blue card, then I'd be more inclined to go for it here. But I think we need to have multiple layers of protection here. Unfortunately, we're just feeding things to this Wasteland whilst this Delver chips us down. But hopefully we'll find a blue card. We can kind of get everything going, and then they'll just borrow and bounce our Sneak Attack after we spent everything to get it in. And that'll make me sad. Goodbye land. Don't do it, opponent. Don't play another one. It wasn't the Wasteland. Alright. That's something at least. So we have to beat the Daze and probably a Force. Because what else do they have if they're not really playing stuff out that much? Alright, it's time to get our Thundering Falls. Don't hate mana, to be honest. We can afford to take one more hit. I think they're not going to have that many lightning bolts left in their deck, are they? Although the Ancient Tomb becomes an awkward one. So we know if we just play this, it's just going to get dazed straight away. Then we pay with this. Alright, I'm just going to play out this mountain and take one more hit. Hopefully we can find this blue card that we've been looking for. 5 mana is such a big ask in Legacy to have this be a spell that we cast. And all the things we're playing to make it easier to cast, like our Ancient Tombs and our City of Traitors, just mean that we're more susceptible to Wasteland disrupting our combo. I don't believe our opponent's got bolts in their deck still, unless they've really had nothing else to bring in. Alright, is this a Murktide? Sure, that's fine. Blue card, please. Not a blue card. Well, we're kind of priced into it at this point. Just got to hope it's just the days that they've been sat on. A Hydroblast. We know they have a daze in hand. So if we Pyroblast this, then they're going to do the daze, and then this doesn't get us anywhere. So we have to let that go. To Pyroblast this Murktide Regent. Otherwise we die. And we're going to go to 1. Oh, they had the Force of Will anyway. Okay, we're just 100% cooked there. All right, we finished with a 2-3 record, which is honestly kind of where I feel like Show and Tell is these days in Legacy. But let's talk about the deck and why that might be the case. So we have a lot of points of failure in our deck. We're trying to cast 3 and 4/5 mana spells, and that exposes us to Wasteland in a big way. Also, single pieces of hand disruption are really good against us because we're trying to assemble an A plus B, but our A plus B are kind of expensive and not great on their own, and our opponent can just hit these, and they're not really things we can top deck and do stuff. We can't piecemeal it like an Entomb deck. If you Thought Seize them, they can fire off their Entomb and their creatures in the graveyard, and then at some point they'll draw the spell for it, and it's just like, yeah, that's a lot better than what we're trying to put together here. Now, yeah, sure, having cards in the graveyard is an issue, but every deck at the moment is running main deck Graveyard Hate, and Blue-Black Reanimator is still the best deck by miles. So I don't think that's necessarily a problem with it. Like, we're running Ghost Vacuums, and it's still not really going to be enough here. Like, being weak to Dazes, Wastelands, Force of Wills, Thought Seizes, there's just so many ways that collapse what we're trying to accomplish here. And sometimes we cast a Show and Tell, and our opponent puts in like an Archon of Cruelty or their own Atraxa, and then they get to untap with it first, and that just feels awful. So I just don't really think Sneak Attack is particularly good right now. I do like Stock Up. It's weird that we're only running 3. This basically felt like the best card that we had all day long, because everyone else has like got so many like big banger cards. Being able to get 2 cards from our top 5 makes us feel like we can get back into the game a little bit when we're sort of behind. So I wouldn't mind seeing some more stock ups. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing some more lands. 19 lands is quite low, especially when we're trying to cast, as we mentioned, 3 drops and 4/5 drops. So it just feels like we don't have the resource. Now, obviously, one of the lands has been cut here for a Soothing Spirit Guide, effectively, but I just think we need more resources to go off. There's only so many things you get to play around, and we're not playing around any of them with this list, really, and that feels kind of a little sketchy. In terms of how Sneak and Show decks are performing, let's just pull up the data. So this is for the last 17 weeks of Legacy since the BNR. This is Legacy Online Challenge level and above. So if we go down to Sneak Attack, it's 3.5% of the meta, but only 2.1% of the top 8 share. So that means that it's performing 60% as well as it should do if it was performing on a balanced level. Now, obviously, when we look up here and we see Blue-Black Reanimator, oh, it's doing 1.49% over the whole thing. So it's clearly doing better. And if we look at the event wins, the Sneak and Show deck has 1 event win over 17 weeks. And then there's also Omnitel, which is the other Show and Tell variant. This got slightly better numbers on the overrep, but again, still hasn't won an event. I think Omnitel is slightly better because when you cast your thing, you win instead of sometimes your opponent winning, and that's kind of a big deal. So in terms of this deck, it's just been sort of power crept out by all the other sort of disruptive decks that come in underneath it now. And we work really hard to put like Atraxa into play compared to the Reanimator decks. Like I said earlier, our deck is dedicating what? So we've got 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 17 cards for this package, basically. And then obviously like some fast mana to help power it out to make that work. 17 cards plus mana versus a Reanimator deck which plays 10 or 11 cards in their deck. And all of those cards cost 1 mana, apart from the Animate Dead, which costs 2, basically. And then obviously the monsters you don't care about. So whilst like Entomb Reanimator's around, why would you try and be playing with this? Because this is just way more clunky and has way more bad matchups and has more points of failure and just doesn't really work the same way. And you can't play another plan alongside it because it takes too many slots to play. This is one of the reasons why when some people talk about bans, they say, why don't we just ban the big monsters to make Entomb Reanimate worse? Like, Show and Tell decks have been a staple of Magic for a long time. And the deck is awful at the moment in Legacy. In terms of its stats, it is performing poorly. And when you play it, you can feel why. So making this deck even worse to try and cover over the sins of Entomb, which is the clear problem here, there is just a weird approach in my opinion. Because what the Entomb does is it allows you to not have to play a million cards in your deck. So you don't have to play like all of these and these and these. We can just play like 2 monsters, one of which even pitches to Force of Will. We just have our 4 Entombs. And then we can cheat big monsters into play so much easier than trying to jump through all these sneak attack hoops. Now, sure, Emrakul is a bit of a different thing, allows you to like annihilate everything, and that's all well and good. But I just don't think it's really particularly viable in Legacy right now, and the stats do back that up in terms of its performance. Now, once again, this makes Snoopy-magic's win of the challenge even more impressive, so big congratulations to Snoopy on that one. I don't know how you did it. This deck does not feel like a place where I would like to be in Legacy right now, and hats off to anyone who can win a tournament with it. Alright, I think we've answered the riddle of whether or not we think this deck is good or not, and I hope you enjoyed the content. Please remember to like and subscribe, and goodbye. If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget turbo depths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed turbo depths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.